and he's going to house it.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your fantasy football, sports betting, and NASCAR home. I'm your host, Kyle Robert. You follow me on Twitter at NotoriousKRO. With me, as always, is Brian Twining. Brian Twining, there's a break for F1, the summer break, but my God, the next month and a half is going to be insane with Premier League this weekend. We have obviously NASCAR. We have football tomorrow, or if you were listening to this today, the Hall of Fame game. Obviously, we have a ton of stuff with fantasy and whatnot coming up, as well as the season will be here before we know it. I'm not really sure how to process all this, but how are you doing? And I guess, are you ready for the insane 6-month sprint we have coming up with the NFL season?
Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to juggle all of my professional responsibilities and my hobbies coming up during the fall. Like you said, we have the EPL starting up. Football's preseason is beginning. We're going to have the NASCAR playoff stretch. Don't forget, we have the World Cup coming in November. Like, this is going to be one of the most chaotic falls that I can ever remember, especially too. My Yankees are in first place in the American League. Like,
don't worry, you'll get bounced in the playoffs in the first round. You never have the pitching. It's fine.
Honestly, that might actually be more beneficial for me. It'd be one less thing to focus on.
Yeah, I'm really happy both of us have our TVs and can try and catch as much of this as possible. I did want to mention, with fantasy stuff happening, August might be a little funky, but we will get the content out to you. We will obviously have our Thursday big preview, betting preview, and then Saturday night is our goal to record. If Saturday night can't happen, we may do a live stream on Sunday morning. We may do something a little earlier in the day, but we will definitely get to you post-qualifying with our thoughts, update everything, get you more bets, all that good stuff. So don't worry about that. I also wanted to share a couple things. Shout out to poor girls Tom Brady at Gooden_16 on Twitter, who let us know that she hit on Gilliland, Bubba, and Busher top 10s and had Bubba as top Toyota. So it was a very, very nice day for Gooden_16 over on Twitter. So shouts to them for doing their thing, taking a little bit of advice that we gave out, and parlaying it into a huge day. That's quite the haul. Yeah,
that's an incredible take on a race that was one of the most crazy that we've seen during the season. It was very reminiscent of the way I called F1 races early on in the year, where literally going into turn one was the race. And that's basically what we had, where turn one was the deciding factor on pretty much every single restart. I mean, you got Joey Logano just absolutely sending it into the corner, causing just chaos. And then you have
going 5 wide at points. Like, that was insane to me.
And then Ross Chastain just saying, F it, I'm not even going to try to turn. I'm just booking it down the emergency lane. That was crazy.
Yeah, so if you're not already following us on Twitter, please do that. Please let us know how your weeks are going, because we do love to hear from everybody who's getting success off of some of our thoughts and some of our plays and some of our picks. And I also wanted to shout out Mark Begley, who left a Twitter or a YouTube comment that definitely made me laugh. He said, Kyle seems to worry about everything. And that's definitely true. That was a great response to the video. So appreciate it. Appreciate you checking us out, Mark. And yes, I tend to worry. Brian brings me back down to reality, and then we cash some bets and win some money. So that's what we're here for. Speaking of bets, Brian, let's dive into last week, because we had some fun, didn't we? We had some fun. Share the screen real quick. Look at all of that green, Brian Twining. We had ourselves a time. Bell over Byron for me. Christopher Bell top 10. He was running there most of the day, my God. could not get it done, but he did beat Byron, so that was nice. You won the show bet. We have to go back and track those show bets
We
because
do have to go and check.
you were
on those,
crushing
too.
me, and then I made a nice run to kind of even it up. I feel like you've won the last couple, so I think you might be up 1 or 2, maybe a couple more. But yeah, it's been a fun back and forth to say the least. Hamlin over Chastain was great. Obviously, the wreck helped me there, but when I see plus 215 for drivers that I feel are even as much as I think Chastain's better for this track setup, I still thought that's silly. Took advantage and it worked out. Austin Cindric, top Ford, plus 310. That was a nice hit.
Don't even get me started on that.
Happy to have that on my card. Ty Gibbs didn't really have quite the day that we wanted. But
Hey,
that's okay.
he worked himself up into the mid-teens late, so it was close.
Christopher Busher, top 10 plus money. That was nice. Bubba Wallace, top 10, 15-1. If you had the top 5, even better. He ended up finishing 5th, I believe. So that was a really nice day for him.
The fact that his number was 15-1 to top 10 when he had been running as good as he had was far too good to pass on.
That was a wonderful call on your part, and Bubba seems to be he's obviously having his issues and not quite getting there on some of the tracks, but he's become a more well-rounded driver this year and is being a lot more competitive in races that he traditionally didn't do as well. So it's great to see. And that was, like I said, a phenomenal call on your part. Also had Truex over Briscoe in a head-to-head plus 310. Like
that was lovely.
Like I'll take that all day. Chastain was top Chevy. I still would make that bet again at 5-1. He was there most of the day, and he doesn't have that incident at the end. He definitely cashes that. McDowell over Keselowski, another
easy money.
Fade Brad, that was easy, and then Dinger top 10. He was minus 125, but my God,
great call on that. He was there.
Yeah.
Pretty much as soon as he cracked the top 10, he was there the rest of the race.
Yeah. So very, very, very nice week for me. Strong week for you. That Austin Cindric top 10, even at minus 185 was a great call, and one that made sense. Obviously you are being our a resident Bubba guy, rode that lightning. Busher over Bowman. And then some incidents. Blaney was great most of the day, and obviously had that incident at the end that kind of crushed a lot of these bets. But Blaney was right there. He could have been top 40. He was easily top 5. So it's definitely frustrating when you're on the right track, you see it all day, and then at the very end,
the most frustrating part about the Blaney thing was he had like perfected their plan by not taking tires on that last pit stop. He probably would have been in the lead if they hadn't have held him up or he hadn't stalled the car coming out of pit road. He was running second pretty much all the way to the finish, and all we needed was no caution there. And when that last caution hit, I had this sinking feeling that he was going to get wrecked on those extremely old tires. And lo and behold, he did.
There he goes.
So it was almost inevitable once I saw that caution come out.
Yep. And so Truex over Briscoe, another nice hit for you. We did update our outright odds, or our overall odds, basically since the All-Star race. This is where we're at. I'm up a little. I'm up 6 units, which is really nice to see. The struggle bus was out when the season started, but Brian and I are really rounding into form. Brian's had a few nice weeks here, just down a few units, but overall a solid win percentage. And we plan to keep that rolling. Let's head over and recap a little bit over on DraftKings just to show everyone kind of where our heads were at over here. This was our lineup. We had some thoughts. We went Dylan over Bubba, Brian, and I think that was the downfall. If we had gone Bubba here, we would have been in a much, much better spot. Obviously, Chastain's incident going from second to 27th.
That was
crushed his day, and then
bad.
Ty Gibbs was fine. Busher was solid. Dinger was solid. Cindric was solid. But as you can see, when we flip over to my other lineup, Bubba was really good, 53. Cole Custer, I told you Cole Custer finished inside the top 10. I didn't take it because I'm an idiot, but had a really strong day. Ended up and then Dinger right there, Cindric, and then obviously I went Kyle Larson because I'm a glutton for punishment.
We
If
got
I
to
had
talk
gone,
about that Kyle Larson incident real fast. Like, was that not something straight out of a video game?
yeah, I feel like that would, if I was playing like NASCAR Heat or NASCAR Thunder, like I would throw my controller because I'd be so pissed.
Yeah, like that was just ridiculous how hard he went into that corner. I mean, it looked as if, and they talked about it, that maybe he lost his brakes or something.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that
something
was,
something definitely happened. But yeah, that was a wild turn of events, and obviously, it's been a rough season for him. But we
yeah.
can talk. I think he's going to be somebody that we need to talk about this week because this might be the week. Although feel like I've been saying that for about a month and a half now. But decent week over on DraftKings. Won a little bit, lost a little bit more than we won, but that's okay. Keep that bankroll green. Let's talk outright odds. Let's talk betting odds. The lines have moved a little bit since initial release, but um, I think there's some fun potential this week for sure. At the top, we have some the who's who: Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Ross Chastain. All within that 10 to 1 number. I guess I feel like this week might be a pound the top of the board, kind of fade everyone else on outrights. But like, what's your head at? Where's your head at for your initial pass through? And as we look at the top of the board, what are you thinking?
I'm gonna continue to say this until he's not near the front, and that's anytime you can get Ross Chastain at double digits,
Yeah.
like at points bet right now, 10 to 1. I mean, it had NASCAR been a little lenient on that last lap right there, we're possibly looking at a second place finish by Ross Chastain, or even he's able to pass Tyler Reddick somehow there and win last week's race.
Yeah.
Chastain too good this year.
Sorry. Quick aside. As someone who had an Austin Cindric bet, knowing that Ross Chastain shouldn't be there was a little frustrating. I don't know that he would have gotten there, but like at least I would have liked to see him have a chance to go
Yeah, I
around.
don't
But
know if he was catching him though. Just with how
yeah,
strong Reddick's car was, I
yeah,
don't know if anybody
that's completely fair.
was catching him. But yeah, no, among this group, like first I would skip over all four of the top guys and just go straight to Chastain. But I'm kind of with you this week with Kyle Larson. I think this is he has as good a chance as any of these guys to potentially win here. He's been really good at
Yep.
Michigan. He was really good at Auto Club earlier this year where he won.
Yep.
He has 5 career combined wins at Michigan and Auto Club, which is the closest in comparison to this track. He's been kind of, putting around as so to speak this season, but this is a track he's ran really good at 7.5 to 1. 7 to 1. It's a little short just with his recent performances, but I do think he's going to qualify good, and this number should be right around there after qualifying too. So you're not really going to have a difference in odds after qualifying for him.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, he won the Auto Club, which is one of the most comparable tracks. That's obviously the 2 mile. Has some of that. A lot of the names you see pop up like from the Auto Club race are some of the guys that tend to do better on faster tracks. So it might be a good week to go back to Bubba. I feel like he had a really good week at Auto Club, and then something happened, right? Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, but Bubba's had
Yeah.
one of those seasons where at the tracks where he's kind of good at, sometimes he has car problems. So I don't know. He's been running great. So again, he's going to be somebody I'm monitoring for a top 10 market, not necessarily a win, but
yeah. But yeah, Larson, I think I'm gonna put on the card just because I like to punish myself, but I feel like he's too good of a driver to be struggling as much as he has, and maybe it's just last year everything went right and he was in the right spot at the right times with everything, and now this year's kind of figuring itself out, and kind of balancing out what last year was. But if there's a week for Larson to get back on track, I think this is the track. I wouldn't blame anybody who took a shot on outrights here. Let's keep rolling down to the next chunk. We have Tyler Reddick. 23-11 is looking smarter and smarter by the week. Tyler Reddick now has 2 wins on the season. Has been really, really strong. Could have had 3 if Chase Briscoe didn't wreck him.
Yeah.
Has been right there a lot, and is starting to get priced accordingly. So that makes sense. Right behind him, your guy Ryan Blaney, 12 or 13. William Byron right behind him. We've talked about Byron. He's either feast or famine, and ran well at Auto Club, runs well at this style of track. Could be the week where he absolutely goes off and gets a win. And I'll stop at Truex just because he kind of is that traditional breaking point before we go to the kind of that 20-1 number. So I guess in here, is it Ryan Blaney for you? Is it Tyler Reddick? Is it what are your thoughts?
It's hard to pass over Tyler Reddick at 12-1. I know that's kind of short for him at a track he's never really had success at. I mean, in his 5 career Cup Series events at Michigan and Auto Club, his best finish is 11th. But with that said, he was probably the fastest car in California earlier this year, where he won both stages 1 and 2. He led, I think it was something like 90 laps during that race before suffering a flat tire when we were, at the beginning stages of the season when everybody was suffering flat tires. Reddick looked fantastic there, and that was kind of a sign of things to come for his season with him running near the front. So I think 12-1 is probably a good number for him. I mean, my dude Ryan Blaney, is he gonna win? At this point, I don't know if it maybe just bad luck is on his side this season. I don't know if he's going to get that win, but he's, been running inside the top 5 pretty much every single race. He's like top 5 in every single driver metric on this season. Ford has won 7 consecutive races here at Michigan. So I think that's something to keep an eye on heading into this track. They seem to kind of have a better feel for how to set up their cars.
Yep.
And then Willie B, again, I mean, he's either finishing really good or not finishing at all at some tracks, so it's hard to get on him.
Yeah, so looking back at the Auto Club race, Blaney was 8th after stage 1, 4th after stage 2, and then had an incident that ended up putting him 18th. Same kind of idea for William Byron, who was 3rd after stage 1, 9th after stage 2. Had an accident and finished 34th. So both those guys' results in that race are a little misleading for how they ended up finishing. So those are both, I think, 2 incredibly interesting options. And honestly, if you want to pick your kind of favorite out of the elite group, Denny Hamlin, I think makes a hell of a lot of sense. As you mentioned, Chastain, especially if you can get that 10-1 number, could make sense. Going back to Larson could make sense. And then diving down here and maybe grabbing 2 of Byron, Blaney, and Reddick could be a nice way to kind of get a little extra potential for drivers that have just as good a chance to win this week as kind of anybody. Let's go down to the next chunk and talk about, we'll start with Joey Logano, who actually was great at Auto Club and didn't end up finishing quite as well, but did finish 5th. Was 7th after the first stage, 3rd after the second stage, led 14 laps. To be able to get a 20-1 number at DraftKings, I think makes sense. I know him and Keselowski are your nemesis, but 20-1 on a guy that was that strong and I think could perform well here might be an interesting way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see somebody getting to Logano. Like I said, Fords have been fantastic at Michigan. It's just hard for me just because of my history with him. Honestly, of the 5 guys that you're showing here, I mean, maybe this is the week that Kevin Harvick can maybe push his way to the front. This is a track where he's won more than pretty much anybody of lately. I think he's won 4 of the last 5 trips to this track. I know this season hasn't been great, but I mean, 25-1 is a great number. And then, of course, going back to our guy Eric Jones, who was fantastic at Auto Club, the fastest car on track all day. I think he finished second or third. He's been running pretty well at the ovals this season and at the faster ovals. I like him more in the placement market, but why not take a shot on a guy at 30-1?
Yeah, and I think him being priced here is very interesting. I always look at the betting board and try and find which one of these names.
Suarez from
which one of these names doesn't make sense? Like, we've had it with Suarez, we've had it with Tyler Reddick when he won. We've had it with different names that have kind of, this guy doesn't traditionally get priced here, and even if you don't take the outright, you look at top 3, top 5, top 10, you might be able to find some value. We did it with Almirola, I believe. So there is potential here for sure. I am not going back to Alex Bowman. I'm done with that guy for a while. Kurt Busch will not be running, it seems. I don't think it's officially official, but he's still dealing with concussion issues. So kind of interesting to see if we get another week out of Ty Gibbs, what his price could be, and maybe we get a little better value this week after he was priced pretty aggressively last week.
He was.
Based on a lot of hype and expectations.
But the fact that when you look at his finishing results, his first 2 races, you have to give the kid credit for
100%.
1, not wrecking, and 2, being able to navigate his way inside the teens in the Cup Series in his first 2 ever races.
Yeah. I think that is a great call. And I'm actually looking at driver rating from Auto Club, and Eric Jones had the best driver rating. Started second, finished third, was second after stage 1, stage 2. So it's not like he started up near the front and kind of stunk it up for a while and figured out a way to get it back. So
exactly, he maintained.
Good to see. Beyond these guys, I don't know if there's anybody at that kind of 50-1 number or longer. I think at that point we're kind of, we should be considering outrights or considering placements and head-to-heads and whatnot. So let me pull up the top 10 market and let's see if we can't find some value, because I think there could be some fun numbers to be had in that range. Obviously, PointsBet doesn't have their top 10 numbers up yet, but I'm sure they'll have them by the weekend. We are recording this, as always, on Wednesday evening. I know it's Joey Logano, but minus 135 to top 10.
Let me just point out that Joey Logano is minus 135 or minus 140. And our boy Christopher Bell, minus 185 to minus 200. It just shows you the expectations now of like the consistency differences between these guys.
Yeah, no, and that's completely fair. It is a pretty wild market price, and I don't know. Like, I feel like if I were a book, I would be pricing Christopher Bell way more aggressively, hoping that money comes in, knowing he's going to qualify well, and then he's going to struggle on race day. But he's actually been, as you point out, been a lot stronger in terms of finishing. Kevin Harvick at minus 110 at FanDuel, that seems like a good number too.
Yeah, so Bell, Harvick at minus 110. I'm going to add that. That's too good for a guy that's been.
I feel like he's going to qualify well. And we're going to be talking on Saturday night, and it's going to be like minus 175.
Yeah, exactly.
Eric Jones minus 110.
That's priced up this week for sure.
Yeah, I want a piece of Eric Jones. I got to figure out how I'm going to get it.
Got to be a matchup, just because I don't really want to pay for.
Yeah, or maybe I get a little more aggressive and go top 5 or something if I get a better number there, but. The books are definitely hanging stuff, and I think some of these guys might not qualify well, and we could come back on Saturday, scoop some value, and try and hit some, and then you see a big drop off. Michael McDowell, plus 350, plus 370. It's kind of interesting, and then Cindric back down to.
Busher at plus 370 is going to go on the card. I don't really care what his history is here. He's been running so freaking good on the ovals, especially this year. And then he's top 10 last week. I can't avoid betting him at that big of a price.
Almirola is compelling. Had a 6th place finish at Auto Club after starting 31st. But in terms of actual driver rating for a guy that made that many moves, he didn't really have that strong of a race. So I'm kind of on the fence about whether I need to be getting there or not. Yeah. Austin Cindric actually had a decent performance despite finishing 12th. Started first. That could be an interesting, because it's just I think there's numbers in here that make sense. Like he's not quite 3-1, so it's not as compelling. Keselowski's also been really good, but he's bred Keselowski, so it's like what do we do with that information?
Yeah, and at what point of the race are you biting your nails off, knowing that
Well,
the wreck is
and
coming?
it'll be like when I used him a couple weeks ago, and he was doing great, and he was finishing and being looking like he was gonna reward my confidence, and then he ends up having an accident and kind of doing some Brad Keselowski stuff. Cole Custer down here 9-1. There's they some of these guys, like there could be potential in there. It's just good luck figuring out where it's gonna come from. Yeah, he struggled at Auto Club. Yeah, or that's Michigan. Let's see how he did this year at Auto Club. Yeah, finished 11th after starting 21st. Was 6th after stage 2. Had a decent run. Actually had the best 36, 9, like 12th best driver rating, which is pretty good.
Somebody else who's kind of interesting to me, and I think I'm going to add him for a small bet, is Stenhouse Jr. at plus 350.
Yes, I think
He's
that's a great call, and we
he's
probably
been
should.
improving each week leading into this. I mean,
Yep.
starting in Atlanta, he finished 31st, and then we went to New Hampshire, 22nd. He was 18th at Pocono, 13th last week in the Indianapolis road course. He finished top 10 at Auto Club earlier this year. He
Yep.
had a string of races earlier this season. I think it was like 4 consecutive top 10. So maybe he's kind of rounding into form right now and getting at plus 350. If he could potentially qualify, in the low teens or something for this, that number is definitely going to shrink.
Yeah. I think if you can get anywhere north of 3-1, I'm in on it. 280's fine, but I think if that number shrinks down to plus 250, plus 200, then it's like okay, you lost a lot of the potential. So yeah, I'm going to join you on the Stenhouse bet. I think that's one that makes sense. And as we talked about, this one has a lot more similarities with the faster tracks, that the drivers that tend to do better on the super speedways and Atlanta style tracks are the ones that traditionally that kind of tend to pop in these tracks as well. I wanted to look at top 5 really quick, and then we will hit some matchups. I want to review the current odds for the NASCAR championship to see if we can find some value. If you are newer to the show, Brian and I both have Ross Chastain outrights, I believe 50-1. So we're happy to have those, although the last month or so hasn't quite gone as well as we hoped it might. He's been competitive, but he's also had some incidents, and we are fully expecting Denny Hamlin to just completely run him off the road when it matters most. I also have a Ryan Blaney future, which I'm getting more and more worried about by the day.
The one thing I'll say about Blaney, though, is that if he can get into the playoffs, like that's all a guy like him is going to need, because maybe that's when he hits his stride and he winds up winning multiple
because he's
times.
been really good, and by points he should be in, but he just doesn't have the win. So
exactly.
And with the way this season's gone, it's hard to see people without wins getting in the playoffs. But maybe he gets one of those last spots and finds a way to kind of get it done. So I just wanted to look at a couple drivers. If there's anyone specific you want to look at, Ryan Blaney at plus 150, William Byron at plus 175. To top 5 is kind of fun. Man, they just do not like Logano this week. Did you set these odds, Brian? Harvick at 3-1 to top 5 is kind of fun.
That's an interesting number for him.
Yeah. I mean, we're looking at minus 110. Now you can get 3-1 to top 5. That seems like a worthy bump. Eric Jones at top 5 at 350, I think is. I'd much rather do that than what his top 10 number was. So I am adding that as well.
Well, just for context, the last 7 trips to Michigan, Kevin Harvick only has 1 finish outside of the top 7, and he has 5 finishes inside the top 3, including the 4 wins. Like the thing though that I don't want to talk you into the wager, but the thing
It's already on the card. Keep going.
The thing you have to take into account is this new car, especially for these older drivers, it seems like is really having a major effect on what they used to run at these kinds of tracks that they were really good at. So it'll be interesting to see how Harvick is able to adjust.
Yeah, I've been like, I always like to see previous year's data, but with the new car, I'm mostly not super concerned with that. Like if the driver traditionally hasn't done well but has shown the ability to do well in the new car and has found a way to be successful at a similar style track, I'm a lot more into that than I am to, well, in the last 5 years they didn't do anything. But yeah, it's a brand new car. A lot of stuff, a lot of things have changed. Let's look at the head-to-head market and see if there's any interesting value this week. Blaney versus Byron, that could be a very interesting show bet if you want to go there.
Let's do it.
Okay, perfect. I will take Byron. You will take Blaney. We can keep the juice or we can go even. I don't really care.
Minus 110 on the juice.
Perfect. Love to hear it. Christopher Bell versus Martin Truex. We kind of skipped over Truex. He's traditionally had some success here, but hasn't really been that guy. That could be an interesting spot to jump on board. Reddick versus Chastain is kind of interesting. I feel pretty good about both of them, so I don't know that I really want to go there. Bubba versus
that's like heart-wrenching, that one, because I like both of those guys. And neither of them really garner your utmost confidence that they're going to finish the race.
Yeah.
Like that they're going to be able to avoid wrecking or spinning out. So it's hard to bet either one of those guys.
Yeah. Some good numbers on Byron, but he's been one of those guys that's really feast or famine. So if I'm betting Byron, I think I'd rather go top 3, top 5, and know that if he beats Truex and has a good day, he's probably doing better than 13th, and so I can get a little more juice that way. Ross Chastain plus 100 versus Denny Hamlin is kind of fun. I am curious to see some of these odds that the books have been posting, the plus 250s. I'm curious to see if we get any more of those. I feel like they might have gotten hammered. Wallace at plus 110 versus Suarez is kind of fun. Anything really jumping out to you? I don't feel like there's any. I mean, you could.
I am betting that I'm going to take Kevin Harvick over Logano at the minus 105 just because. Yeah. Because I dislike Joey Logano and Harvick is too good.
And I would go head to head with you because but when you see my betting card, you'll know why. Kyle Busch versus Hamlin, Blaney versus Truex, Reddick at plus 105 versus Hamlin is kind of nice.
Wow.
I'm actually gonna take that. That's a good number. And I think Denny can absolutely win the race, but I also think Reddick can do it. And if you're giving me plus money to do that, then I'm going to do it. So let's take that. Any other interesting? Yeah, no, that's kind of it. Let me pull up the championship odds just so we can look at those. While we're here, we'll recap our odds, or recap our bets, let you know what we're thinking for Sunday. All right, here we go. So Chase is obviously the favorite, plus 350. That's a decent number. Chastain's right there though, 7-1.
Oof, that's incredible.
Our numbers are nice. Yeah, we're sitting in a good spot with those tickets. I really want to find a way to get a little more juice. I got Blaney, I think, at 12. So, I mean, for him to still be priced here is pretty good, considering he doesn't have the win.
Yeah.
Reddick at 15, I don't hate. Byron, I don't know that he's going to be consistent enough, but I could see him getting hot for a handful of races and really doing that.
It's interesting that Larson is priced up where he is, considering how inconsistent he's been.
Yeah. I think it's just a lot of last year, and I really wonder, like, when you started the year, he was like 4-1 or something. So,
Yeah.
they're willing to drop him, but they're also like, we're not going to get overexposed here. We're not, because his true odds should be down, probably 10 to 12 based on his performance. But they know if they hang that out there, it's going to get bet, and Kyle Larson's good enough where he could get real hot and just dominate the rest of the way. So, any of these longer, north of 10-1 that you're interested in, Hamlin at 10-1 is interesting. Reddick at 15, Logano, nah, I'm good. Chris Bell at 25.
I mean, Bell is somebody who we have on the card as 28-1. So obviously we wouldn't, or I have it at 28-1. I wouldn't want to get back in at 25, but if you haven't wagered on him, he's been probably the most consistent Toyota. He's had tremendous speed at pretty much every track. I think he's somebody who could surprise as we're coming into this latter part of the season, and then once the playoffs start. So, getting that big of a number for somebody who's probably getting into the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm looking at our numbers, which, by the way, I had 2 driver wins, props for the year. Christopher Bell over half a win and Austin Cindric over half a win. Both have cashed. That feels really nice. My outright card is Blaney at 11-1 and 12-1. Alex Bowman at 18-1. That's dead money. I have Chris Bell at 20. So 25 is a better number. So, I mean, I guess,
Yeah,
I don't
but
know.
it's really
Yeah, he got the win, so that's good, but I don't know. And then Chastain at 60 is nice. So I'm happy to have that. You have Byron at 12, Blaney at 11, Bell at 28, and Chastain at 50. So a lot of similarities there, but it's always fun to go back and look and see what value we could potentially find. As I mentioned, holding a Chastain, holding a Blaney. I think I want to add one more, but it's just like I don't. I mean,
Let me just say,
I guess Hamlin would be the name.
I was just going to say, Denny Hamlin should have 3 wins on the year if it wasn't for a piece of tape. So, I mean, we're kind of nitpicking at this point, considering he has less odds than or lower odds than Kyle Busch, who Hamlin has probably been better than, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that Hamlin probably has the best potential of between those two guys. So I would much rather take him at the 10 over Busch at 8.
Yep. I think that makes sense. And I might do that after this show. So let's recap where we're at. Let's give the people a best bet and let's get out of here. So I have 3 outrights. I have Kyle Larson at 750. I have William Byron at 12. And I have Joey Logano at 20. Those are my 3. I'm going to stay to those 3. I've been having a lot more success kind of not going crazy with the hammering of the outrights. I have Logano top 10. I have Kevin Harvick top 10. I think both those numbers are really nice, and I expect them to qualify well, and I think those numbers will be long gone by the time we talk Saturday night. Also jumped on Stenhouse Jr. at plus 350. Eric Jones, I got a piece of at 350 for a top 5. Kevin Harvick, top 5 at 3-1. Once again, that's why I didn't want to go up against you in that head-to-head bet. With Joey Logano, even though I have Logano on outright, I think Harvick's right there as well. And I kind of like him as he's just so solid and so consistent, and I expect him to be like 7th or 5th or somewhere in there all day. And then my one head-to-head so far is Reddick over Hamlin. Even though I like Hamlin, I think he can win the race, and obviously Brian and I are simpatico on him winning the championship at 10-1. I just think it's a good number at plus 105, so I will jump on that. Brian, break down your card, and then let the people know your best bet here on a Wednesday for the Firekeepers Casino 400.
Yeah, so I'm a victim of the recency bias, and that's Tyler Reddick, 12-1. He was probably the best car at Auto Club earlier this year. It's clear he's one of the best drivers in this next gen car, so I got him 12-1. My dude Ryan Blaney, he's gotta win. He needs an effing win.
Yeah.
So I gotta be on him. I would feel absolutely terrible if I didn't bet him and he won the race. And then I'm gonna do it. Kevin Harvick, 25-1. He's kind of my all-in driver for the week in Michigan, which may come back to haunt me, but I'm gonna go with him at 25-1 on an outright. Harvick the top 10 at minus 110. That seems like a sure bet. Going back to the well with my boy Chris Buescher to top 10 at plus 370. Adding early in the season top favorite Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who keeps rocking the great paint schemes to top 10 at plus 350. And then our show bet Blaney over Byron is a matchup, and then my actual driver matchup that I'm picking Kevin Harvick over Joey Logano, just because I absolutely despise the number 22.
And you're despising of Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski has done well by you most of the season, so
Yeah, exactly.
Keep riding it until the wheels fall off. For my best bet, I'm going to go Kevin Harvick top 10. I just think that is minus 110 is too good of a number. I expect him to have a solid day, and I will make it a 3-unit play here on a Wednesday.
Well, I guess I'm going to have two best bets for the middle of the week because Kyle just jacked mine.
No, take it. Ride together. Either we cash all the money or we both go up in flames together.
So I am also going to go Kevin Harvick top 10 at 3 units for my best bet. As we sit here prior to practice and qualifying at minus 110, that number is going to get smaller as we get closer to green, as more and more money starts to roll in, especially with people seeing how good he's been here and where he's been finishing all season. I mean, yeah, he hasn't done great the last 2 races, but prior to that, pretty much every single race he was finishing inside the top 10. So Harvick to top 10, our best bets. The old fart is probably going to lose a tennis ball off his walker this weekend and crash early. So
it's the week of the olds, Brian. We got Harvick, we got Logano. We'll see what other olds show up. I did want to remind Scooter, you won the Christopher Bell giveaway. You have one more week to get in touch with me. Twitter is the best option. You can also leave a comment or something on the YouTube video and we could figure something out, but I do want to get it shipped out to you. Otherwise, either we will do another giveaway or I will just send it to Brian because he wants it really bad and all that good stuff. So make sure you get in contact with me. If you are enjoying the show, make sure you're subscribed. We appreciate everyone. We are working to get to 500 subs before the NASCAR playoffs. Let us know down in the comments your best bet for the race, and we will be back on Sunday morning in your feed to give you the final betting card, the DraftKings picks, and all that good stuff. That's Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll talk to you next time.